I said, what's up, y'all? Look at me when I'm talking to you, bro. Nah, I'm just messing with y'all, man. This your boy Knockout Boxing 86 TV, and we in here. So check this out, bro. Before I get going on our video, smash my like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, share the video, turn on your notifications, and please go follow me on Twitter at KOBoxing86TV. For breakdowns and predictions, you can hit my email, knockoutboxing86@yahoo.com is my email address. And don't forget about our live shows. Live every Wednesday and Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. Live every Sunday morning with the Singing OG KQKC Boxing Network. Sunday mornings, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. But let's go ahead and get it popping. Let's get into our video. And today, we got to talk about Errol Spence Jr. He coming back in April, bro. He dropped it on his Twitter that he coming back in April. We don't know who the opponent is yet, but using our discernment and our skills of reasoning and how hard we follow the sport of boxing, I can confidently say that it's going to be Keith Thurman. I can confidently say that. Now, I would prefer a Terence Bud Crawford fight, but I understand that the reason that he's not fighting Terence Bud Crawford next is because of Terence Bud Crawford, bro. But I can already see the narratives being painted. I can already see it being painted. So we're going to talk about it in this video. First, I'm going to explain to y'all why it's Keith Thurman. After Terence Bud Crawford announced, remember, notice I say after. Everything we say here is for a reason. You'll catch on to it in the video. After Terence Bud Crawford pulled away from negotiations with the PBC for Errol Spence fight and decided to fight David Avanesian, the WBC at their convention ordered Errol Spence Jr. to fight Keith Thurman or be stripped of his WBC title. About 11 days after that, Errol Spence Jr. his team petitioned the WBA, hey, we got a mandatory in the WBC. We know that you want to, we know that you want us to defend the WBA, but we just want to make sure that if we fight our WBC mandatory, y'all will approve that shit and y'all ain't gonna strip our ass. So basically asking the WBA for permission to fight their WBC mandatory. If he wasn't planning on fighting Keith Thurman, why would his team go to the WBA and petition for him to be able to fight Keith Thurman? So that's one clue. That's one clue, bro. Right? That it's going to be Keith Thurman. They also went to the IBF, and the IBF said, yeah, after your next fight, you got 120 days, which is about 4.5 months. It's about 4 months. 120 days. So, if he's going to the WBA and IBF, and he's ordered by the WBC to fight Keith Thurman, who y'all think he was going to them to try to fight? Then he said, before the car accident, I was going to make a fight announcement. Well, we know whatever fight announcement that he was going to make wasn't Terence Bud Crawford, because remember, Terence Bud Crawford pulled away from the negotiation table and fought David Avanesian, so X him out. So I'm saying it's gonna be Keith once upon a time Thurman. That's who he's gonna be fighting as a mandatory defense. Now, let's talk about the Terence Crawford side of this, right? I can already hear him. Oh, why ain't he spin the block? Earl said he was gonna spin the block. Y'all saw what Bud said he ready. Earl said he was going to spin the block. Why can't he fight Bud in April? See Earl ducking. I already know. This is what I want people to understand. I don't want to hear that shit. Because where was the energy from you people that are saying this shit, or that are going to say this shit, where was the energy when Terence Crawford had an opportunity to fight Errol Spence, but he signed to fight David Avanesian in a voluntary defense? Earl's fighting a mandatory defense because if he don't, they will strip his ass, and then him and Bud won't be fighting for undisputed. Keep in mind that he wouldn't even be ordered to fight Keith Thurman if Bud Crawford would have signed to fight him in the first place. Now, I don't want to talk about that shit, though. Y'all don't want to talk about Earl wouldn't have to spin no block. We wouldn't have to potentially wait until the end of 2023 to get a fight between Errol Spence and Terence Bud Crawford if Terence Bud Crawford would have just signed to fight him when he had the offer on the table to fight him. So if you ain't going to have no energy towards Terence Bud Crawford and what he did, bro, I don't want to hear shit about Errol Spence fighting a mandatory, man. What did y'all want to do? Wait around, let Terence Bud Crawford fight, not try to do anything, not try to fight, not try to do anything, and just wait around on Bud Crawford. But then you praise Bud Crawford because you said he didn't want to wait around for Errol Spence. Y'all's logic, bro, the way that some of y'all think, that shit be baffling to me. So Terence Crawford can lie to all of us and say the only fight I'm trying to make is Errol Spence, but be talking to BLK Prime since the same time he was talking to Errol Spence. Terence Crawford could lie to the people that's making the fight for him and Errol Spence and not tell them anything about a David Avanesian fight that he's negotiating. Terence Bud Crawford could come out and tell all of us, I agreed to everything, but he didn't sign nothing. He can go back and forth with Errol Spence on Twitter and admit that Errol Spence and his team gave him everything that he was asking for. He can do all of that shit. And then he can sign to fight David Avanesian, blindsiding everybody in a voluntary title defense, and you won't call that a duck. But Errol Spence can be forced to fight Keith Thurman because Terence Crawford did all of that shit. And then you'll call Errol Spence a duck for fighting Keith Thurman. Can you please hop in my comment section and try to make that shit make sense, or come through one of the lives and try to make that shit make sense? I'm not trying to hear none of that shit. And I'm body bagging and cooking anybody that come at me with that bullshit, bro. Did I want Earl to spin the block and make the fight with Bud and push whatever he had planned to the side? Hell yeah, because I'm a fight fan and that's the fight that I want the most. But what I'm not going to do is act like the reason that we have to get Errol Spence and Keith Thurman is it because it's Errol Spence's fault. The reason that we got to get Errol Spence and Keith Thurman in April, in my opinion, because, I believe he fighting Keith. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm telling y'all this because this is what I believe. The reason that we have to do that is because Terence Bud Crawford ducked out on the fight that he claimed he agreed to. The reason that we have to do that is because Terence Bud Crawford signed to fight a voluntary defense instead of fighting for undisputed. That's why we're getting Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman. Because if not for that, there would be no need for Errol Spence to have negotiated with Keith Thurman at the end of the year. He would not have had to petition the WBA to fight Keith Thurman because the WBC ordered it in November. You got to keep the timeline in mind here, bro. A lot of y'all like to forget the WBC ordered Errol Spence to fight Keith Thurman after Terence Bud Crawford announced his David Avanesian fight. If Terence Crawford and Errol Spence was announced, there'll be no mandate for him to fight fucking Keith Thurman. And he wouldn't have had to make a deal with Keith Thurman to fight him, bro. He wouldn't have had to do that if Terence Crawford wouldn't have signed to fight David Avanesian. Y'all don't want to talk about that shit. He wouldn't have to go to the WBA and the IBF to make sure it was cool for him to fight Keith Thurman if him and Terence Crawford were fighting. And the reason him and Terence Crawford aren't fighting is because Terence Crawford pulled away. He had a contract on the table to fight Earl. He had a contract on the table to fight Avanesian. He chose Avanesian. So I be damned, being as objective as I am, being caught up in the facts the way that I am, I be damned if I know all of this shit and then I'ma somehow get mad at Errol Spence for fighting Keith Thurman and say that he ducking Terence Bud Crawford by fighting Keith Thurman. I be damned, bro. That shit don't make no sense to me. It's like, let me put it in a way that y'all would understand, right? And I'm talking to my Terence Crawford apologists, and fanboys and channels and shit like that, because I know you watch. If Errol Spence did everything that Terence Crawford did, if Errol Spence pulled away from negotiations and fought some voluntary defense in December without telling us, number one, I called Errol Spence a goddamn duck, because that would be some duck ass shit if he did that shit. But then, after doing that, Terence Crawford has a fight. Terence Crawford is ordered to fight a WBO mandatory about a week and a half after Earl announces his fight. And then Terence Crawford ends up in the beginning of the year, the next year, fighting that WBO mandatory, all because Spence pulled out of the fight. I wouldn't be on Terence Crawford's helmet because of that shit. I'd be like, bro, what y'all want him to do? Get stripped? What y'all want to do? Put his whole career on hold for Errol Spence? It don't work like that, bro. The reason that he's having to fight a mandatory is because Errol Spence pulled out the goddamn fight, bro. That's what I would tell y'all. And the ones that know me know it's fucking true. Because that's how we move over here. Because we keep it 100, bro. Like, we authentic over here. I really love the sport of boxing. I ain't got no agenda. I ain't got no narratives that I push. I tell the truth on this goddamn channel, man. And the truth is, all this shit is a distraction tactic, bro. By Terence Crawford and his fans and shit, bro. It's distraction. Not all his fans is like this, but it's a goddamn distraction, bro. Because it wouldn't be no need for no goddamn Keith Thurman mandatory. Earl would have never had to go into negotiations with him. People wouldn't be talking, oh man, he said he gonna spin the block. Terence Crawford wouldn't be tweeting, oh, I'm ready for you now. Whenever you ready, I'm ready. None of that shit would need to happen if he would have signed the contract in front of him to fight Errol Spence Jr. when he had that motherfucker. All of this shit is arbitrary. All this shit is happening because he fought David Avenesian, bro. And I hope y'all understand now why on this channel I was so mad that he took that fucking fight instead of fighting Earl, bro. We all knew the mandatories was coming up. We all knew people was gonna start ordering shit. And that's why I say a lot of y'all don't want the fight. You just want your narratives to be right. Because now you get to say bullshit and you'll have some people believe it, but the real ones gonna know what's up. Because we gonna tell them what's up. And the bottom line is, none of this shit would be necessary if he'd have just signed to fight Earl in the first place, bro. Instead of claiming that he agreed to everything and then going on the campaign trying to make Earl look like a duck and look like they ain't want to fight. And then in the middle of that campaign when Earl go at his ass, admit that they gave him everything he asked for. So if they gave you everything you asked for and you had a chance to sign to fight him, and you ain't signed to fight him, that's on you, bro. That ain't on them. Oh, but he needed to fight this year. What's to stop him from signing to fight early and saying, yeah, while we waiting on y'all, I'm going to fight this tune-up over here. Tank and Ryan doing that shit. Canelo Alvarez signed 2 fights at once. Avni Yildirim and Billy Joe Saunders ring a bell. Come on, dog. That man ducked out on the fight. That's why we got to wait a whole nother fight. And hopefully they fight at the end of 2023. But what's Crawford gonna do? Not fight in April, not fight in May, not fight in June, and then what? Oh, I don't want to fight Earl coming off of a 1-year layoff. But y'all want Earl to fight him coming off of a 1-year layoff, huh? Like, bro, I just hope Bud get a fight in while around the time Earl fights, so they can get on the same timeline. Both feel good, both feel like they ready, and just get this shit popping, bro. But what I'm not gonna do is watch everything that Terence Crawford did to pull out of that fight with Errol Spence Jr., bro, and then call Earl a duck for fighting a mandatory where he made the fight and he had signed the fight after Terence Crawford pulled out of their negotiations. Like, I ain't finna, like, shouldn't nobody just wait around on somebody to run their goddamn career, bro. That's what we get on Andrade and Jamal Charlo for, right? For letting Canelo dictate their career and not making moves and all that shit. Well, shit. Same thing with Earl. Why the fuck should he just sit around and wait for Terence Crawford to dictate his whole goddamn career, man? Terence Crawford pulling out of fights, playing games and shit. Painting narratives, going on campaigns, smear campaigns, and all kind of crazy shit. Instead of just signing a fighter. So, nah, bro. Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman, I'm cool with it. I wanted him to fight Keith anyway, because I want him to clear out the whole division. I ain't mad at that. Keith ducked him. Go ahead and fight him as a mandatory, and then hopefully come back around the table to Bud, and y'all get that shit popping. But we ain't gonna do that, bro. We ain't finna call Earl no duck. Can't do that shit if you objective. You can't call that man a duck knowing what Bud Crawford did, man. And knowing that he was signed to fight this fight, and this fight would have happened in February, or this fight would have happened in March if he hadn't had another car accident, bro. They had to push the date back. That's what a lot of y'all don't want to talk about. He was still going to fight in like February or March. But they had to push the date back because he had an accident, bro. So now he's fighting in April. And they've been working on this fight since at least November when the WBC ordered it. So what we talking about, bro? Y'all let me know what y'all think. Comment down below, smash the like, subscribe to the channel, share the video, turn on your notifications. Follow me on Twitter at KOBoxing86TV. And don't forget about our live shows. Wednesday, Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. You can catch me live with the Singing OG KQKC Boxing Network. Sunday mornings, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Appreciate y'all watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. And with that, we out of here. Peace out, y'all.